Thank you for your patience here. We were getting some logistical things together to make our meeting more productive. Madam Clerk, good to see you back. You now have the floor.
Councilmember Rob Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Diana Dama.
Here.
Councilmember George Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Jimmy Clanton.
Here.
Councilmember Jasmine Carver. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, madam. We will stand for our invocation and pledge of allegiance. Councilman.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you again for an opportunity to serve you by serving others. We thank you for this meeting this evening, that you will empower us with your wisdom, your direction, your understanding, and your spirit. We thank you, Lord, as we go forth, that you will be a blessing in this city, and this city will be a blessing to this country. We give you all the glory and the praise, and we thank you for it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to go into the presentation portion of our city council meeting, and we will start with Ms. Patricia Willis of 6 Degrees of Synergy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patricia Willis, and I am president of 6 Degrees of Synergy. I am also a resident of the city of Stonecrest. I want to thank the mayor and all of the city council as well. I am here this evening to ask everyone to say the date. What I'm presenting this evening is the 2018 Spring Festival for the city of Stonecrest.
As well as you'll present to the council, so the mic is good for you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is my first meeting, so
It's good.
correct me with my manners.
Ah,
Okay.
You're
thank you very
fine.
much.
You're
Okay.
fine.
All right. So tonight I am introducing Stonefest, which our tagline is connecting people to our community. Most of you have probably seen the great movie, The Black Panther. And one of the things that I got from that movie was the quote, "The wise build bridges while the foolish build barriers." And that is one of the things that we plan to accomplish with Stonefest, is to build bridges in our community. Most of you will remember this picture. This was part of the platform in establishing the city as you all went around from neighborhood to neighborhood. So what we have done in our strategic plan for this Spring Festival is to pull focus areas from the initial platform. As the festival continues to grow from year to year, we will increase various focus areas. But this year, we are starting with 3 focus areas. The first one will be focused on health and wellness. We're going to start the morning of the festival with a 4K run walk. We're calling this area Self-Love Do You. So that 4K run walk is going to start at 8 o'clock. Once the run walk is over, the festival will go from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And with the health and wellness, we're going to have some light health screening. We're going to have organizations and businesses there that focuses on the body, hair, your mind, your spirit, and your soul as well. So our goal with this is to help our residents to become more proactive about and aware of your physical being. Our second focus area is the City of the Future, and I'm inviting the mayor as well as the council and all of the citizens of the City of Stonecrest to come out in an informal environment and to engage with each other. We're also inviting our state officials and any of our other local officials to come out and to be able to talk and to meet one-on-one, to talk about what the future is for our city, to talk about what the strategic plan is for the first year, the third year, the fifth year. and also too, to get feedback from the citizens so that we can really interact and to be able to collaborate, which inspires creativity as well as diversity. And then the third area for our focus area is our innovation showcase. This is the area that I really am passionate about because I work in technology. Our innovation showcase will focus on technology, innovation, and sustainability. One of the huge gaps that we have, not only in our community, but in America in general, is with technology awareness and technology preparedness. We will be bringing out people who look like us, who do technology jobs. We want to engage our students, our youth, elementary school, middle school, as well as high school, to talk about STEM opportunities, to talk about STEAM opportunities. We want our community to also be aware of technologies that are currently available. What does it mean to have a smart home? What does it mean to actually make your home more energy efficient? How can you install solar energy into your home? What is the clean energy that is going to be in the future? What does it mean to really have a sustainable environment? So those are some of the things that we are going to be doing. We have organizations that's coming in so that people who are actually in technology positions can talk to our youth. We're going to have robotic demonstrations as well as drone demonstrations to really be able to engage our youth and our community. And also, not only with our youth, we have so many adults who are not prepared in technology, and we want to really bring this to the community, let people talk one-on-one to understand what the journey is and what they need to do to prepare in the future. So our formula for doing this, I've talked about our main events. We're looking for partners as well as sponsors. We'll also have general vendors, anyone who does jewelry, different types of products, and also with any festival, we're going to have great food as well as music. Our festival is going to be held on June the 9th. It's going to be at Stonecrest Mall. It's going to be in the parking lot at Tournament Central, which is the old Kohl's parking lot. Today I'm really excited because we have launched our website. If you will go to our website, which is Stonefest US, that's STONEFESTUS.com. We have registration open now. People can register to be vendors, that's business vendors, civic organizations, as well as food vendors. We're also looking for volunteers. It really is going to take the whole community in order to make this successful. So I thank you all for your time, and I invite you all to please come out on June the 9th and be involved with Stonefest. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, excellent. Council, do you have any questions? All right. Good deal.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to bring up a couple of people. Well, let's start with Mr. Bernard Knight.
Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. It's my great pleasure to be asked by the mayor and Councilman Clanton to give a short introduction to a very good friend of mine and the Kellys, Mr. Joe Coleman, who is going to receive a recognition from you all tonight. We've known Joe many years. He's highly respected and well known in the industrial park. Before there was a city of Stonecrest, there was an effort which relatively few folks know about. The mayor is personally knowledgeable about it, to defeat the effort of the mayor of the city of Lithonia to annex at first the industrial park and then most of what would be the city of Stonecrest. There were a few folks within the industrial park who were instrumental in working to deflect that. Mr. Coleman was one of them. But more to the point, Mr. Coleman has a facility which, again, I don't think all that many people are aware of. It's off of Marshall Boulevard, off of Lithonia Industrial Boulevard. It is CS Truck and Trailer. It is one of the largest, if not the largest, semi-tractor and trailer maintenance, repainting, and major repair facilities in the southeastern United States. It is a beautiful facility. For those of us who have been fortunate enough to tour it, Councilman Turner, Councilwoman Adoma, Edwina Clanton, and a few others, it is just something that you will marvel at if you have the opportunity to go there. The state-of-the-art painting facilities, the scope of the operation is truly remarkable. Mr. Coleman started that pretty much from scratch, perhaps about a quarter of a century ago, and he has built it into something which I think is the city can be very proud of. And I'm very pleased that he's also received recognition from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, which is the basis of his recognition tonight. So with that, I'll turn the mic over to the mayor and Councilman Clanton so they can make the presentation. Thank you.
Well, good evening. We have the pleasure now, Councilman Clanton, of presenting an award for Mr. Coleman and his business. And I've known him for a while now and had an opportunity to work with him and to make sure that we've all been on the same accord. And Bernie and I were so right about all the things he said. But what we want to start here in Stonecrest is a tradition of honoring those people that put their money, their time, their grit, their service, their risk on the line for our city. And Mr. Coleman, you come up front. A proclamation from Mayor and Council, and he's actually in Councilman Clanton's district, so he'll be doing a lot of these kind of things. Whereas CS Truck and Trailer is a business located in the city of Stonecrest owned by Joe Coleman, and whereas CS Truck and Trailer has been serving the Stonecrest area for 19 years and employs more than 100 people. That's great. And whereas CS Truck and Trailer was awarded the Workplace Achiever in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution 2018 Top Workplaces Awards based on employee surveys, and whereas CS Truck and Trailer has been awarded an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And CS Truck and Trailer's employee feedback scores exceed the national standards to be considered a top workplace. I may need to come over there with you. Don't work out for me. I know where I can go. And whereas residents and business owners of Stonecrest value workforce development and employee retention, and now therefore be it proclaimed that Mayor Jason Larry and the City Council and the City of Stonecrest supports and congratulates Joe Coleman and staff of CS Truck and Trailer, and hereby recognize this Monday, March 19, 2018. In witness thereof, I have upon set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Stonecrest, Georgia, to be affixed this 19th day of March 2018. Let's congratulate him.
Can I take just a second?
There you go, right.
First of all, honorable mayor, city council, business associates, neighbors, to hear my name over and over again is sort of humbling to me, because that's a representative group of my people there. If y'all would all stand up, I'd appreciate it. What you're doing here with us is what we want to do with the rest of the business community and the government. Is showing and proving that we can work together. And in doing that, we can attract more business, which is more jobs, more opportunities for other restaurants, hotels, motels, whatever facilities, just to show that we can work together. That's what we've heard from the very beginning, and that's what we're seeing. And just like CS Truck and Trailer, I can do none of this work myself. It's this group of people here that have made the difference, and they're the ones that made this happen. And if you let people know that you do care about them, and then they buy into the idea of family and team, there's nothing we can't accomplish. And so with you all trying to do the same thing and reaching out like you've reached out to us, and that we know you guys can achieve everything that you dream of. So we thank you very much for including us, thinking about us. I give all the credit to my people, and I thank them and appreciate them. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone. I appreciate it.
Madam Clerk, public comments.
Mayor, I have two speakers,
All right.
Patrick Mitchell and Faith Hofield.
You go, Ms. Mitchell.
Well, I give honor to, well, my name is Reverend Patrick Mitchell. I'm originally from New York, came to Georgia in 2008, and love your state. I give honor to the mayor, council. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. Councilwoman Nadoma advised me of this meeting. We've been talking, and I think this is the Lord allowed me to be here just to make a few comments about my church that's located at 5268 Snapfinger Woods in Decatur. Snapfinger Woods Drive, until I'm nervous.
No problem.
In 2008, we purchased a building. It's a warehouse of 12,000 square feet. We purchased it with the understanding that we were going to make it a church. Last year, we had an event at the church honoring entrepreneurs. It was a well-attended event, had several elected officials, but it also highlighted the need to upgrade the building. So we started to pursue that. We had some drawings made, submitted it to be approved, and we found out that we needed to have a sprinkler system installed. The cost that the architect quoted me says it's going to be about $50,000 to $60,000. The problem is, we never anticipated that we would have to do that. And I'm not sure where we go from here, but understanding the need for safety, I fully understand it, but we can't do it overnight or in a short period of time. As a pastor, I understand we raise money, but we raise money based on progress. People see things are happening, they'll give money. We've been trying to do this since last year. We initiate this process with the architect and so forth. And this is where we are now. The plans finally got submitted, but we hit a roadblock where we need a sprinkler system. We're stopped in our tracks. What I am thinking is that if we have some time, we can address those issues of bringing the building into compliance, and we have no problem doing that, but we do need some help at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Somebody's left their phone up here. Excuse me. I'm just gonna, okay, I'm just gonna give it to you. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have, basically, I have a couple of questions about some issues that have come up. when we were developing the city of Stonecrest, we were told that there were numerous companies that were waiting for the approval of the city to begin to move into the city and to bring businesses. We have lost a lot of businesses, and as you probably know, we as of today are going to lose Claire, which is a jewelry store inside the mall. We've lost Toys R Us, Babies R Us, and we may be losing Bed Bath & Beyond. That is not very clear at this point. But with these vacancies, I'd like to know what are the plans for the development of the city. The city goes beyond Stonecrest Mall, and we need to know what's going to happen outside of the mall, because the mall is a dying issue, and it will remain a dying issue as long as it's under the control of the people that are controlling it now. Number two, I have been informed by some people, and I've sent out a request to try to find out if this is actually correct, that in the new city charter, HB 1060, that there is no provision for the homestead exemption, and that it will remove the homestead exemption provisions of SB, of the local act SB 208. And I need to know if that's true, because if that is true, that means that the property taxes on our residents will go up approximately 60%, because, you know, we only pay 40%, those of us that have homestead exemptions. And then lastly, I just noticed this today, it says on here that you're asking for approving the engagement of Butler Snow LLP as a special counsel for general bond obligations. And I'm trying to figure out, are you about to issue bonds? And if you are going to issue bonds, what are they going to be for? And if any of that money will go towards purchasing any of the items that were purchased, properties that were purchased by the people that bought supposed to be doing the sports facility, or the people that bought Kohl's, or the people that bought the old Target. I think that's very important, and we need to know what this bond money is going to be spent for, because we're a very small city compared to other cities. We only have 50,000 residents, and most of our obligations for money comes from the property tax, property tax owners. So those are my concerns. I think that they're very fair for us as citizens to know what is going on with those issues, since they impact us so heavily.
Stay at the mic, Ms. Cofield.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll give her another minute because I want to ask you something. Normally I wouldn't do this, Ms. Cofield, but since time is of the essence and I want to answer your questions.
Go ahead.
Give me the first one again.
We were told that there were businesses this was in 2016.
Oh, I remember that.
Through 2017, that there were businesses that were lined up that wanted to come to Stonecrest. Now, I understand, I keep the mall as part of the
Get
business.
it. I just need a refresher for a second because you had mentioned three things.
Right.
So in the world of economic development, there are opportunities that are coming our way as we sit. But what we have experience with is the moment that you release those names with regards to who's coming, who's thinking about coming, those places that are being fulfilled, it changes the negotiating landscape. So with respect, there are opportunities that are out that we're looking at and people that are looking at us. But as a matter of good business practice and some opportunities, we just can't mention names.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to respond to that by saying, I'm not asking for anything that you're in negotiation with.
Right.
I'm asking about those businesses that over 16 months ago, we were told were waiting for us, only those that we were told were waiting for the day that we became a city. And I think most people remember those comments, that the day we became a city, they were going to become businesses within Stonecrest.
Okay, Ms. Cofield, I'm going to stop you. What was the second one?
Okay, the second one is about this HB 1060, which is, I understand, the new
Oh, for
charter.
homestead exemption.
Yeah, is the homestead exemption going to be removed?
No, let me
So
tell you
we-
what ends up happening. So because of how the bill is placed, And you can look back at the champion with regards to the advertising of a homestead exemption. It had to be separated from the charter itself. As a matter of fact, that was the first thing we made sure we took care of. And it's actually 5 bills. And all the signatures that's required for those 5 bills for our homestead exemption got signed between Friday and today. So it is not, but what we found out is when you present your bill to legislative council, they change it language-wise. And either keep everything in it or separate it, properly. So to specifically answer your second question, homestead exemption is covered and we will be good. What was the third one?
The third one is, you have on here about the general obligation bonds. Are we going to be issuing bonds?
So you're going to see what's happening here in a few minutes on that, but let me specifically answer that question for you. It is not for the sports center. Because that was part you asked, was it for the Fort Sports Center or something else?
That was part B of it. The other part was, are we going to be issuing
Well, what
bonds?
we're going to do is make sure that we have the ability to issue those bonds when it's the proper time. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I just asked because, I used to work in DC, so I was kind of concerned.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, anyone else?
That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. I'll move to minutes, approval for the minutes of special call meeting of February 7, 2018, and the regular city council meeting of February 19, 2018. Council, have you had an opportunity to read the minutes from those meetings? And if not or so, take a minute to do so, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
will we act on them separately or?
Yes, we'll act on several. I've already had my hands spanked for putting them together. So first let's take the rules of, we'll take the rules of both, but we'll motion for separately.
Mr. Mayor, are you taking, I have a few additions. Are you taking those now?
Yes. So let's take the first, which is the special call meeting for February 7th. Are your comments related to February 7th?
No, the regular meeting.
Okay. Then rest of council, is there any changes, additions that you see for the minutes of the special call meeting for February 7th? Seeing none, I'll take a motion for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of the minutes February 7th.
All
I
right.
second it.
So properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Special call meeting minutes approved. Madam Clerk, are we still going with the handhelds and ayes or just the handhelds?
Could you please say the ayes, because I tried to transcribe those minutes, and I don't know how you voted on some of them, so I had to go try to find out. Please say the ayes.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we'll move to the regular city council meetings for February 19th. Councilwoman O'Donnell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things I'd like to add to the minutes that I didn't see. One of them would be, I think, city manager stated that the audit would reflect a start date from inception through December. February 19th. It's not in there.
Where?
It's not in there. These are
Are they
the,
under his comments, or?
under city manager comments with the audit.
Okay, professional audit.
Under the audit and the city manager section.
Engagement letter for the professional audit.
Yeah, a couple of things I just wanted to add that I didn't see in the minutes that we discussed. One of them is city manager stated that the auditing process would begin early March, and that it's due to the state of Georgia by June 30th, and that the initial audit would cover from the city inception through December 31st, 2017, and that the audit And then I think something else that I want to add, we had asked for information on how the internal and the external auditors would work together. And I think it was mentioned that someone had applied for the internal auditor's position, but they opted to withdraw their name. And
Hold on one second, I'm sorry. Let me give you some clarity, if you don't mind, Councilwoman, and then
Sure.
if I'm in error, Mr. Manager, let me know. If I recall correctly, there was a person that we appointed as the internal city auditor, and they withdrew from the appointment.
that's correct, Mr. Mayor. So, and then I want to add that I think my comment was, I was recommending that we provide for an oversight ethics committee that would be independent of the mayor and council, and that we would have some fiscal oversight simply because I believe that's best practice and a good procedure to follow. So none of those things were included in the minutes, and I'd like to ask the honorable mayor and the council to please incorporate that into the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, will we need to review tapes, the minutes, to add that specifically?
Councilman Clanton, I reviewed the tape, and these comments were 33.33 minutes into the tape.
We'll do just that. We'll go back through and review all the comments and amend as needed. Sounds like everything, certainly the first comments, I certainly recall. I don't recall the last comments, but we can certainly go back.
And let me add that Attorney Curry actually made the comment that the charter requires that we have oversight, and he confirmed that, and you can get with him to confirm it again. But he did confirm it on the tape.
And we'll review the minutes and make those adjustments and bring it back for resubmit to the council.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
okay. All right, are there any other changes or additions?
Mr. Trouble,
All right,
call your attention to item number 8, line 4, where it says, really line 3. It says, the vote regarding the reimbursement Council Member Adama of leadership to cast, Council Member George on a motion to approve with a noted revision. Perhaps you need to add, I made a motion to approve the minutes, not to approve the motion. Item number 8.
That's a different meeting, I think, isn't it?
Oh, the same meeting?
It's the same meeting.
Eric 15th, yes. The 19th. Sure, that's the 19th. Item 8. It?
Councilwoman George Plum made a motion to approve the minutes.
Right. Not the motion.
Mr. Mayor, if I would recommend that we go back, review the comments that have been given, and represent these minutes for approval at the next meeting.
I agree. Councilman Turner, you had another one? Thank you.
Yep, there were a couple of others. I think they confused the George Tunnel with the Rock Tunnel. There is no, yeah, and it's important.
Which number is it?
It doesn't have a page number. Following item 12, come to the next page after 4, It would be the expansion of 4. When we did the motion, just before the zoning amendment, special land use.
Okay.
Just before that, it has George Turner and Councilwoman Carver motion to defer this item back to the planning commission. That was Rob Turner and Carver. And in Okay, and the next one is under C. You open the hearing with a motion from Councilman Adama. Then when you closed it, it says open, it should say closed. At the bottom of it, after you get comments from the 5 citizens, the next item says Councilman Patton motion to open the hearing. When the hearing had already been opened, actually he motioned to close the hearing. See it? Item C.
I see at the top where Councilwoman Clanton made a motion to open. And at the bottom, he made a motion to close.
Oh, okay. So you tell me it has already been updated? He said, that's what he said. Well, then I have an old copy.
Actually, you sent out a copy today, and I think Councilman Turner has an older copy. The copy that I have, I actually have me down as closing, making a motion to close. And the copy that I'm looking at, well, someone did. I mean, I got a, well, maybe not today, but I think,
I sent the amended package. Councilwoman may want to do something, we're going to approve these later on anyway. We can give it to you individually to make sure all your concerns have been addressed.
And I will give you my marked up copy.
We can have it.
Okay, we'll know which one is up to date.
What's in your package should be up to date. What's in the system should be up to date. I sent that.
Yeah, we'll give it to you individually and make sure we get all your comments.
Okay.
So we'll approve the second minutes with regards to the regular city council meeting on February 19th at the next regular scheduled meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If
All right.
you have corrections that are written down, if you give them to me, and I can
It works.
get them.
All right, did I,
You need a motion
I
to
make a motion to withdraw the approval of the regular city council meeting for February 19th?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to withdraw the minutes of the date of February 19th.
Nobody never made a motion to
Did you make my,
approve. No, so you just need a motion to defer them to the next council meeting.
all right?
Okay.
Motion to
And
defer.
I make a motion to defer the minutes of February 19th until the next meeting.
All right, properly moved and properly second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There. Well, you all don't know that Ms. Brenda is still training us as we go along, so she does an excellent job of that. All right, so the adoption of the city council agenda, as we see it today, items that we have, I will take a motion to adopt the city council agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt the city council agenda for today.
All right, properly moved
second?
and second. All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Agenda adopted. Our agenda items, resolution number 1, to activate Stonecrest Development Authority and appoint the board of directors. Madam Attorney.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so this is a resolution to activate the Stonecrest Development Authority and to confirm the appointment of the initial board of directors. As you'll see, you have 7 members that are appointed, and you also have ex officio members that will serve on the board in their staggered terms for these appointments. 4 of the 7 members will serve for an initial term of 2 years, and then the 3 remaining members to serve for a term of 4 years.
So, do we have to read the resolution in or as it sits today?
As it sits today.
All right, council, I will take I would like to read the names, please, if you don't mind.
Yes.
The actual members of the Development Authority. This is the Stonecrest Development Authority, very important, very important. It's how we continue to move forward also. Mr. Layton Hull, Mr. Antonio Render, Mr. Bill Allen, Ms. Belinda Hull, Dr. Cynthia Elliott, Mr. Jim Kelly, Mr. Samuel Stuckey, Mrs. Sabrina Wright will be ex officio, Mayor will be ex officio, Mr. Joe Coleman will be ex officio, and Mr. Julius Lee will be ex officio. As their terms stand, the first 2 years, because we'll have them staggered, Antonio Render, Dr. Cynthia Elliott, Jim Kelly, and Samuel Stuckey will serve the first 2 years, and the first 4 years will be Layton Hull, Bill Allen, and Belinda Hull. No relation to the Hulls. All right, council, I'll take a motion to approve the resolution for the City of Stonecrest Development Authority.
Motion to approve.
All right,
Second.
probably moved and second. Any questions?
Couple of questions.
Yes.
First of all, a very distinguished group. I know many of them. And I guess my question is, what was the selection process and why is it we don't have at least a council member or the pro tem on the, as part of the members in case the mayor is absent?
All right, I'll answer both of those at the same time. This is the appointment of the mayor confirmed by council. So as I usually do, I try to be fair across the board and do either one or two things. Take input with regards to the folks that I want to select, and also based on if that person, particularly for this development authority, if they own a business, how long they've been here, several factors, and their reputation with regards to where they are. I can call these by heart. Layton Hull lives in District 4, Antonio Render, District 4, Bill Allen, District 5, Belinda Hull, District 2, Dr. Cynthia Elliott, District 3, Jim Kelly, 5. Correct, Kelly? Ms. Kelly? District 5? And as a matter of fact, number 3, Bill Allen is also District 5. Samuel Stuckey, District 4. Sabrina Wright, of course, is our development manager. Jason Larry, of course, the mayor, and I'm also a member of council. Mr. Coleman is, his business is in District 1, and Mr. Julius Lee is in District 5. So to specifically answer your question, Councilwoman, I try to go fair across the board for my appointment and based on the people that we know community-wise and for myself.
I understand. I didn't get the names until late afternoon, and like I said, I know most of them. I just didn't know if council had any discussion or collaboration regarding the names. I'm not disputing the members, just wondering, if there was discussion.
Okay. Is there any other questions from council? Okay. It's properly been moved and seconded. Okay. All right, so it's been properly moved and seconded. And we've had our discussion. So all in favor of the Stonecrest Development Authority? Show by raising your hand and signaling aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, Development Authority. And now we can really get to work on doing some things. Number 2, a resolution approving the engagement of Butler Snow LLP as a special counsel for general obligation bonds.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this resolution is to approve the engagement of Butler Snow LLP, which is a premier bond counsel firm. They also serve as disclosure counsel, underwriters counsel, but they're very well regarded in the public finance arena. And the purpose of the engagement is to prepare to move forward with validation of the bonds, because we only have a limited window in order to accomplish validation. If we miss the validation window, we will not be able to issue bonds that are supported by the SPLOST proceeds.
Excellent. So this resolution allows us to be prepared, if you will, to issue those bonds,
Yes,
but does not obligate us, at that particular point.
it does not. In fact, even once we proceed to validation, there's still no obligation to issue the bonds.
Excellent. Council, your questions, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, you mentioned we're close to the deadline. What is that exact deadline?
It's May 31st.
That's all I want.
Just a couple of questions for you. What was the selection process? And this might be for the mayor and the council in selecting the legal counsel.
What's the selection process?
Yes.
Well, we talked to this bond company and interviewed several others. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Curry, Attorney Curry, brought this firm forward with us probably 6 months ago. So that was the process.
Okay, and my other question is, from my experience as a businesswoman, the reason you issue bonds is because you spend the money much faster than it comes in. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and so you issue the bond kind of as a bridge. So with the SPLOST, we're going to be collecting about $47 million over a 6-year period. So each year has 12 months. So then you take the 72 months and you divide the 47 million divided by 72, that's about $650,000 a month. So right now, we don't know yet what we're going to spend it on because we haven't developed that plan yet. And I think Mr. Williams maybe was hired to do that, but that's not my question. And I'm thinking when I would kind of like to see the $650,000 a month revenue and then plot the expenses on the projects to see if we actually are going to be running a cash deficit. I don't know, but I'm wondering if we can see like an Excel spreadsheet of that $50,000 plotted.
And I'm certain that the financial advisor that will be overseeing the SPLOST projects can provide you with that kind of data. Typically, when you have, you're correct, you issue bonds because you expect to spend money quicker than the proceeds come in. The unique opportunity with SPLOST revenue is that you do have a limited window to actually have those bonds outstanding as well. So this isn't like your typical bond transaction where you might have bonds outstanding for 20 or 30 years, the useful life of whatever project you're financing. And you have the opportunity, if your revenues come in quicker than you projected, to do your projects on a pay-as-you-go basis. And there's the opportunity to also to pay those bonds off early, or the technical term is to defease the bonds in advance.
And then I want to ask, I think what I saw in the budget was 10,000 attorney fees. And generally, when I see these types of situations, it gets into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's debatable, I know, but I've never seen one where it's only $10,000. So what is the interest rate and how much of the sponsor is going to pay interest over the 6 years? And these are questions you can answer later, but I just want to find out what that would look like and then get a spreadsheet with that showing and plotting the expenses so we can really see if we're going to run a cash deficit. I'm not opposed to the bond. I voted for it, so I think it's a good thing. I just want to know what we're getting into, and I know all the pros, but I'm not quite sure that I have enough information to say how it may impact the city financially over the years. So just more information is what I would want, and we don't have to discuss it at this forum.
Understood.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, and I think there is, it sounds like there's more information Councilwoman would like, but in general, and for the benefit of the council and those listening, it certainly is the intent, from a staffing standpoint, that we've had some of these preliminary conversations in regards to setting up this SPLOS and going through the process of putting together a detailed cost estimate for each and every project. And from there, you'll be able to generate your cash flow analysis based on what our anticipated revenues will be, what our actual revenues will be. We'll start seeing that in a couple of months. So that certainly is the intent. That always has been the intent. So as we continue to move forward in the process and get some further direction from council on how to move forward in that process, then we can begin the process of identifying the projects. Once the projects are identified, we can start the cost analysis and get cost estimates in place and put all of our financials in place. So I think that certainly is the intent, to your point, Councilwoman, is to have that kind of documentation for the program going forward.
Thank you.
Okay, council, anyone else? All right, then I will take a motion for the resolution of the City of Stonecrest, Georgia, approving the engagement of Butler Snow LLP as a special counsel.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve Butler Snow as the bond lawyer. Special counsel.
Second. Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Resolution passes. Our resolution to approve amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement for municipal government services.
Mayor and Council, this resolution authorizes the First Amendment to the contract to provide municipal government services by CH2M. And the highlights of the amendment are the addition of an amount of $693,568 for the purpose of providing additional municipal services, and also to add to the scope the preparation of comprehensive plan at a cost of $140,000. And the final primary purpose of the amendment is to provide for additional construction management services, and that those services will be provided at the rate that's 2 times the amount that labor is charged under the contract, under the original contract.
Okay, council. Mr. City Manager?
Also, Mr. Wainwright is here. So here's any specific direct questions you may have in regards to it.
Mr. Wright or Mr. Harris, we talked about this just a second ago, so if you will, make a note. Can you outline, I know that it's in the budget, but that's a lot to go through. Can you outline the exact positions that the $693,000 will cover? And I'm not asking for you to disclose the salaries, I'm just asking for the positions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Right.
The additional funding is for 4 new positions that were requested by the Mayor and Council during the budget process. An additional building inspector, we added a website content position and a community affairs position, and also added a Parks and Recreation director. There are also 4 additional vehicles in the contract, plus uniforms and training for these new staff. And it also funds 3 positions that were planned from the beginning to begin in January, the 2 additional code officers and business license tech.
After the community affairs, you said building inspector, web content, community affairs.
Parks and Recreation Director.
I saw the, I had a question about the comprehensive plan. In our original contract, it was an optional L, I think it was. Don't hold me to that letter. And then I think, so in the new amendment, we moved.
Councilwoman McDonald, can you speak in your mic, please?
Sorry. So in the amendment,
I'm sorry.
I knew what you were saying. Number 4, Exhibit A, Services, Section L, Parks and Recs, and the Comprehensive Plan. That was an optional service that we had not taken on in the first contract,
Correct.
the comp plan. I just wanted to make sure, and this, I may be shifting to the budget accidentally, but I just wanted to make sure that, I thought I saw numbers under the comp plan in the budget.
Yeah, great point. So when you look at the amended budget that will be presented in a few minutes, that has been zeroed out.
Oh, okay,
Been taken out, has been incorporated and rolled into this contract.
okay. Okay.
One last question.
Go ahead.
When will we be getting a new organizational chart with the additions?
We can prepare that anytime.
As soon as everything is,
I think mayor and council probably would like a copy. I know I would.
yes, certainly.
We'll work on that.
The position you mentioned, are these existing positions, some of them, and some of them are future positions, is that what you said?
The original proposal that CH2M provided the city proposed a gradual startup for the city. So we didn't, all the permanent positions that we intended to provide initially were not, didn't start all in June. We planned for 3 additional positions to begin January 1st. So those are funded in this budget on top of the positions that Mayor and Council requested as part of the budget process. Does that make sense?
Here's where I'm going with it. I'm saying that I'm still a little fuzzy on some things. Maybe it's just me. And I'm looking at a little more time to digest this. Is there an urgency to get some of this done? Is anyone in a position that's not being funded now?
Well, I mean, the position started January 1st, and we filled half of them.
Yeah, 2 of the code enforcement positions have been filled now. Carter Richardson's already begun, and Mr. Black will begin next week. And the other one was a business license tech that has been filled as well. So those positions are already in place. So the process in regards to some of the new positions that were mentioned are one in particular is a building inspector. Our building inspector, I can tell you, is, on average, you want to have them about 20 ballpark in that neighborhood of inspections a day. On any given day, you'd be averaging anywhere from 40 to 50 inspections. So we know there's a tremendous need just because of volume, which is it's a good problem to have, but it's a problem nonetheless. We're kind of sitting on ready to kind of continue to push that process and get it moving forward as quickly as we can so we can start filling those positions in. As well as, we have some, as was stated, some positions within the communication side as well to continue to churn information out as quickly as possible.
I think the primary urgency is to begin work on the comprehensive plan, because it does have hard deadlines, and we've got the staff standing by ready to go. Just put it a simple way, in
simply put, we planned on adding 3 new positions in January, and that was included in the proposal we provided you guys last spring. And those are included here, but there are also 4 additional positions that came up as needs during the budget process we've added as well.
Okay. Perhaps it's just me, but I need a little more time to digest this. So,
Excuse me.
Councilman?
Question. Can you define the construction management? Are we talking about SPOS management? Is that what we're saying?
It's for any capital project. We provide an option for the city if they wanted to use our services to manage a new capital project work, that we could do so.
So we can bring, you're saying, so we should bring, or we will bring SPOS management under your umbrella? Is that what you're saying?
It could, or you could designate a specific project for us to manage, or none at all.
Okay, thank you.
This is to create the option.
Okay.
Councilwoman?
When will you have available for us a updated printout, since the contract has increased with all the new additions, deletions, or whatever it may be? Because I know that we've lost some revenue with some of the retails leaving, but we've gained some revenue too. And so it just may be a wash. But I sure would like to see where, I think we were at 16 million. So I just want to know over the 5-year period, 16 million. I just like to see it visually where we are with all the changes. Just an update.
You're talking about a financials report?
Yes.
Those come out on a routine basis, Mr. Harris. They're for the 10th of the month?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, for our, you mean for our city financials, or you mean specific to the contract at question now?
Just specific to CH2M.
Okay, because what this is, the contract remains the same. This is simply an amendment to that original contract, so the contract won't change with the exception of, obviously, the numbers will be amended to reflect the new positions, then those new numbers will be extended out over the course of the term of the contract.
Right, so I'd like to see that along with an updated organizational chart, if that's not.
Yeah, I have the org chart. I can give it to you today. So
Because it's a simple request. I mean, it's just the org chart, show the additions, just an update, because there have been some modifications on the contract, and I'm kind of visual sometimes, and I just like to see it in writing.
So we can certainly update the org chart. I think we probably have it already. Was that what you were asking for?
Yes.
Okay, Council, any further questions?
yeah, well,
Sir?
perhaps it's addressed to you. This is kind of and we have SPOS to deal with, and we deal with the budget adjustment, and that's what to make sure that we're not mixing things here that could create, maybe that's what's confusing me on some of this, because SPOS management's got to happen. And I know I brought that point up at one point in time about would CH2M be able to handle some of that, and I'm not sure by the time we get all of this rolled out, might there be other adjustments. That's why I would like personally more time to understand what's going on with all 3 elements.
Well, I don't know if you can answer that question.
That's why I said it might be pointed towards you as well.
Okay.
Well, if I could, I don't, this isn't, I guess, back to Councilman Rob Turner's question, this provides an opportunity for, whatever it may be for any kind of capital project, if they are going to, if the city wants to have them do inspections or do the management of them, there is a line item based on the rate for whoever that person is on an as-need basis. But it doesn't obligate the city to do any of those services up front. I mean, I think that may be, I think that was kind of the question that Councilman Rob Turner was asking. I'm not sure if that's kind of in line with yours as well. What's stated in here does not obligate the city to have to do anything in regards to SPOS. I want to make that's the principal point.
That's why I was trying to understand that construction management services. You explained it once, can you explain it again?
Certainly. It it allows the city the option to use our services to manage any type of capital projects the city wants to undertake. And it's entirely optional, and it's based on the hours that the individuals who would be involved with whatever the work is would work. It's basically a 2 times multiplier on their pay rate. So it would be universal if you need, you know, a top guy for some reason for a few hours, you can bill his rate for a couple hours, and if we need an inspector who'd be paid much less, you know, it'd be billed at that rate for those hours.
You said 2 times multiply, you mean double time?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That'd be the billing rate, would be 2 times what they were.
So that's if we need somebody.
Correct.
Okay.
If you request that the company take on some type of capital project work.
Sure.
And that would be defined by the city, and we would do it. And this gives the mechanism to do so if the city would choose to do so.
One more question for you. How difficult and time-consuming would it be to line item out the 693,568? So I see the comprehensive plan is 140, so we know that's straight at 140. But how difficult would it be to put numbers against 1 through 9? Well, I guess take the comp plan out, so 1 through 6, 8, and 9. And kind of, so we have a lump sum, right? So we know that the entire scope of the amendment is 693.
Right.
But we don't know per item what that cost is, right? So for amendment number 1, what's that cost out of the 693? Or amendment number 2, what's that cost out of the 693?
Right.
Like line item, the 693, so we don't just have a full total, but how did we come up with that number?
I see.
Or not we, but yeah.
Right.
And again, you don't have to list out anything that's confidential. But right now, we're just looking at one lump sum. Right? So how did we get to that lump sum number?
Okay. Well, I mean, I've given the individual positions that are included. Again, it also includes 4 vehicles and training for each of those new positions and uniforms for the field force.
So even if you could break that out and say this is the total core positions, and I'm throwing a number out of the 693, it's 250. This is the total for added services that necessarily don't have a position attached to it. This was 150, you know, just something so that all we have is a lump sum is what I'm saying. We don't know how we came up with the 693.
You're okay with that at a later date?
Yeah, I know you don't have it now in your back pocket.
Okay.
No worries.
Yeah, we can break it down in that manner.
Okay. All right. And I'll take a motion for approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move for deferral, so we could bring this before the work session and get more information on it.
Motion on the floor for deferral.
I second that motion.
Just defer to the work session, to the next one.
And that will take you to the next meeting.
We're in discussion. Properly moved in second for deferral. We're in discussion period now. Can we approve this budget with a deferral today?
If the contract is deferred, then I think the budget amendment takes into account the contract. So we'd likely need to probably defer them both if that's the case. If you're not gonna approve the contract, then today, then there's no reason to go forward with amendment to the budget.
We don't need it in for a month, so can we do a call meeting? I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, you can always do a call meeting, it's always a discretion of the council.
To Councilman George Turner's question for the deferment, which I'm not opposed to, but we only meet once a month now. So I would ask that the mayor consider a call meeting so that we can discuss it earlier than waiting a month out.
What I'd like to do is finish it today, because in our last meeting, I asked that if anybody had any questions, that they really come to the city manager or myself or the folks that are preparing the budget to ask those questions as we are today. I do not want to go to I'll do the pleasure of the council, I do not want to go to an extra call meeting or delay the budget to find out answers that we can really answer today. That would be my pleasure.
Can we not call it a work session for this week, even if it's as early as tomorrow, Wednesday?
I think you have to advertise properly and to,
24 hours for a work session, not a special call meeting because that requires a vote, but a work session. What are the laws for advertising a work session?
It's still a public meeting, so it's 24 hours.
24 hours. So we can still do it this week, I guess. Is what
Can I inject something here? Is there any way that we can entertain any questions? Right now, I think we have all the concerns here. Sounds like a lot of what we're asking, except for the specifics of the positions. And I don't know if the CH2M is prepared with the positions amounts, or if that's something that you guys can gather up in the next hour or so. But if there's an urgent need to pass a budget, I think it's fair that you guys get your questions answered, but I don't think adding time is going to make it any clearer. But, I think it's just getting to the questions and getting those questions resolved will make it clear. And this is a public session right now. I mean, unless you just need time for some other reason.
Is there, sorry, tell me, you mentioned the urgency to pass the budget. Tell me the urgency to pass the budget, the amended budget.
Well, again, the amended budget is tied to the proposed contract amendment, which goes back to the need for the positions, the comp plan process. Without an amendment, without an amended contract, there really isn't a need to amend the budget at that point because there's no changes.
Right, so to get the contract done today, do we have employees that we've already have prepared to offer positions to as of this week, that holding the contract for 2 or 3 days and the budget for 2 or 3 days will be a detrimental impact to the operations of the city?
No, naturally there haven't been any offers made because the contract hasn't been amended, but certainly we've been moving forward under the in regards to the comprehensive plan. I think last work session we did a presentation in regards to the process because that is such a time-sensitive issue, we are trying to make sure we're prepped and teed up to move forward as quickly as possible because we have some deadline constraints. So that one's ready to go, and the longer it's delayed, the longer before we can actually keep moving.
What kind of deadline restraints do we have with this?
For the comprehensive plan, it has to be submitted to the DCA, and I have to go back and reaffirm exactly what the dates, but we have a hard date from the Department of Community Affairs as far as when we have to have it submitted in. So I mean, we do have a deadline that we are.
But you're certain it's not this week?
Pardon?
But it's not this week?
No, the comp plan will take about a year to 18 months.
So we should have, so the urgency to have it before this week is not as great. So we have 3 days to have a work session and talk through it a little bit more. Or I would suggest, and this is, I guess, unofficial, but if we hop to the budget, let's talk through the budget, maybe that will answer some of the contract questions, and maybe we won't have to delay that. So I don't know the official way to hold a deferral to go to the next agenda item, do that and jump back. But is that possible? So let's move to the budget, talk through those numbers, and then maybe if those clean up a little bit, the contract may not be necessary to hold.
That's workable. That's workable. So what would have to happen is, councilperson made a motion, it was properly seconded, and Councilman Turner, you would have to withdraw your motion, and then we move to that item, and then we'll come back.
I call on the attorney, do I cancel it, do I table it?
Table it,
There you go.
Councilman.
Then by process, I move to table the motion until we can have discussion on the budget.
Second. All right, properly tabled and second.
Who made the second?
And Madam Clerk, do you need all in favor? All in favor? All opposed? Motion is properly tabled. With the advent of Councilwoman Cobble's suggestion, let's move to the ordinance for the Stonecrest budget amendment.
All right, good evening all again. So, to the point, we discussed this a bit in the last work session, but I did provide the council with our copy of the amended budget, proposed amended budget, as well as obviously the current budget, as well as a list of budget notes, which details all the proposed changes on both the revenue side and expenditure side to ensure that what's being proposed is also, again, a balanced budget. But what it contemplates at the end of the day is a total increase in anticipated revenues of $293,750, and again, it'd be the same amount of anticipated and additional expenditures to make sure that they do balance out. One thing I do want to point out is when we were initially going through the first budget conversations, there were some assumptions that were made in regards to what the final cost would be for the new positions that were being proposed and discussed at the time. However, because of the lateness of the time frame when we were having those discussions, the decision was made, we didn't have the actual numbers from the contractor at that time, so we had to make some assumptions. And they made that point a couple of times that, at some point we're going to have to take these desires from the council and new positions and new add-ons, take them back to the contractor and allow the contractor an opportunity to come back and give us the actual number. So that's why the budget amendment is, or the budget numbers are only shifting by the 293 number and not that same 693, because some of it was already captured in some of those assumptions. Again, going back, once we got all the numbers back from the contractor, that number was adjusted. Also, again, what's been captured in the new numbers is the fact that the comp plan, which was a separate line item and not part of the contract, has now been added into the contract. So that's what makes up the $293,000. It sounds like there's some questions. I'd be happy to kind of address it to the best of my knowledge to be able to walk through it. But again, hopefully the sheet that you received in regards to the changes that were made for all the respective revenue line items as well as all the respective expenditure line items, that kind of delineates exactly what was added and what was taken away. Maybe with that, I'll open up for questions.
Councilwoman, you have the floor. Councilwoman Cobble.
Mr. Harris, do you have the budget in front of you?
I do. The current or the proposed?
Both.
Both. Both.
Let's start with the proposed. Can you walk me through the municipal court section? And I'll give you some specifics of some of my questions. So under professional service, I'm sorry, are you there? Let me give you a second.
And I am here. Yes.
Okay, under the municipal court section, so under professional services, we have clerk / CH2M, and then below that, about 1, 2, 3, 4 down, we have court clerk. Can you tell me the difference between the two clerks?
Yeah, so the clerk for the second line item was, we're actually utilizing the Stone Mountain, the clerk from Stone Mountain on just an as-need basis. They're actually coming in and helping us kind of with the initial setup, with the understanding that we will transition it into our own court clerk eventually as court continues to pick up. So the thought was we brought someone in who was familiar with the type of software that we were utilizing, had them come in only on an hourly basis. 20 some dollars an hour. So I don't think we're even gonna come near that number, quite frankly. We brought someone in solely for the purpose of just providing us a little additional assistance in the initial setup. And bit by bit, we're weaning those hours off. But eventually, with the understanding that that clerk position would fully be under the third-party vendor contract.
Okay. So on the current budget, we've had the court clerk, not the CM court clerk, but the court clerk was 10,000. So now we've changed it to 3,000 and added the CH clerk to 20,000.
Right.
So that's, let's say, a total of 23,000 for both clerks.
That's correct.
So that's an increase of 13,000 from the current to the proposed.
Correct.
Okay, so on our notes, on our budget notes that I made a copy of from you earlier,
Yes.
we have an added contract services of 20,000,
Yes.
just 20,000 alone. But we actually have a reduction of 7,000 from our court clerk, right?
We did, that's correct. Yeah, so there was that, I wanted to make sure I captured the main line item, it was addition, there was a new line item, in this case of 20,000. There wasn't a line item previously under municipal court for the third-party vendor side. So I added that line item, but you're absolutely right, so part of it there was a reduction in taking some of it off the other. I think it's a net 13 as opposed to what appears to be a net 24.5.
Right. Okay. So the subtotal adds up, though, is what you're telling me?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Let's jump to, I'm toggling back and forth.
That's right.
Can we jump to community development?
Yes, we can.
Should just be right under.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about this just a second ago, what I did. Okay, so comp plan.
Yes.
We had originally had the comp plan at 170.
That's correct.
So we took the comp plan out of the new one.
And it would be captured in the contractual services line item.
Right, so when I calculate that difference, that's the $260,000 difference, right? From the 1.5 in the proposed to the
1.3.
1.3 in the original. Right? So if the comp plan was originally on your notes, we have reduced the comp plan by 140,000. But if we had it in the current budget at 170,000, why didn't we reduce it by 170 versus 140?
Good point. Yeah, we probably should have shown it as 170,000. That's the number that we pulled out.
Right.
It was added back in on the contractual side as 140. So, correct.
So we saved 30,000?
Correct. Well, and when we were putting the budget together, we didn't have a set quote number at the time.
Right.
So we plugged the number of 170,000, being more on the conservative side. The number came back from the contractor at 140, so we pulled that 170 off and plugged back in 140.
Okay. So the $260,000 difference minus the 170,000 is about $90,000
Okay.
that were truly
Right.
added. That 90,000 is going toward what?
Where is it identified in here? It would be identified within because under contractual services, it'll be identified in some of the positions within contractual services. So I believe in this case, our subcontractor is listed under economic development. You'll see some of the increase in that number as well.
Right, but if we have a $90,000 difference in the community development part, in the community development section, so we're adding two code code enforcement officers who come under community development. And our building, we're adding a building, was it a building inspector?
Yes.
Also to community development. So we've added those 3 positions for only 90,000?
No, so let me go back to when we first adopted the budget, there was some consideration made knowing that we had some of these positions were going to come in. However, at the time, we did not have the full numbers. Had we not taken any consideration or what we anticipated the cost for the new positions, and including the vehicles and the uniforms and everything else that was mentioned earlier, then the budget amendment amount would be equal to that 693,000. But we had taken some consideration in some of those other departments. So what you're seeing here is those additional costs are strewn out throughout some of the other departments. So you'll see as you go through, there's typically a contracted services line item for every department. This is one of the early questions we got into. Do you show it as simply one line item, third-party municipal services, or do you break it down and put it into, and try to pull those items out, those line items out, and divvy it out and break it out into every category?
And I don't think you should. I think the way you captured it in the budget is fine. This takes me back to the question I asked Mr. Wright was to line item that's 693. Because when we shift it here,
right?
I mean, it's not very visible. We don't really know that for community development, we've added X amount of dollars, right? We just know we have 693 as a lump sum, and that number doesn't show us where in each expenditure or revenue is that captured. Well, in this case, it would be an expense, but that would leads to my question, right? So you'd have to really dissect this budget and this line item detail to kind of get an idea of where that 693 is separated into.
Yeah, and
So I was wondering, that 90 grand just seemed like it was kind of low to be adding 3 positions under community development. If truly we just moved 170 and added it to the 1.3, that only left 90 grand for 3 positions, which I thought was a little low.
Right. Again, what we're talking about principally is personnel and everything that comes back on the backside with that. And the vehicles, backup, the HR, everything tied to that. So an easier way may be looking at, within each respective department, what is the number of personnel associated within a department, and kind of backing into your number that way.
Or just give me a number. Out of the 693, community development is 90 grand. Out of the 693, economic development is 100 grand.
Yeah, we can,
It doesn't have to be as difficult as it could be.
I hear what you're saying. It's just, how do you break out the number of people within, what's the number of people that represents?
Well, don't even give me people. I'm just asking for a number. The 693 just, if we know we shifted money, if we know we shifted dollars from each line item, just tell me how much did that line item increase? But we can talk through that. You and I and Wayne.
Yeah,
I just, specifically for that community development area, I wanted to understand the 90,000 difference. That was easy for that one. I don't want to spend all of our time going through that. One more, and then I'll let somebody else say what they need to say. City clerk.
Yes.
And I think, so now we're going back up a little bit. And the, current budget, and in the current budget, under contractual services, we have 120,000.
Yes.
In the proposed, we have 130,000. But I didn't see that noted in the budget change notes. So did we just move the 10 in a different line item in this expenditure, or did we just not, we forgot to note that on the notes?
Yeah, I think this is one of the latter changes that may not have gotten them updated on the budget notes. Surely make that change and add that number.
Yeah, because so the subtotal for the clerk is 152.4.
Right.
And the proposed, and the current though was 152.650.
Yes, I think there was some shifting around of some of the funds. I think some things got reduced. And at the end, you're right, I think the,
More than a $250 difference.
right. Well, on the salary side, so the actual bottom line, 152,400, went from 152,650 to 152,400 because there were some other changes. And that's a lot of what we're looking at. I mean, for those areas where there were major differences, in this case, it was about a $200 difference for that particular category. There's some changes made in some other areas. So in that case, it was, use that comparison. Election services was knocked down by 10,000. So that's where a lot of that came from. Specifically under the clerk office. From the current to the proposed.
You said collection services?
No, election services.
Election services.
Yes.
Right, that was an even $10,000 difference, right?
Correct.
And then, so from hospitality supplies, or, I'm sorry, no, let me open this up all the way.
Operating supplies was reduced from 3,000 down to 2,500. So that was your other 500, and then postage was increased from 500 to 750. Or net 450, 200.
So we just double check those numbers and make sure that that section is right. One last mathematical question, I swear I'm done.
That's fine. No. This is, the mathematical stuff is good.
Economic development,
Yes.
I don't know what I did. Contractual services for the 2018 budget was 220. Now it's so in the proposed is 305. We have on our budget notes that the increased contractual services amount by 105,000. That math, can you help me with that math? And I'm asking this because it specifically says contracted services. So I'm just looking at that line item, and I guess I could have spent 10 seconds more doing the full math. But in that specific line item, we went from 220 to 305,
Right.
which is not $105,000 difference. So it should, so if we added 105 to 220, it should be 325
Right.
instead of 305. So did we shift 20 grand somewhere else within the next 4 line items to compensate for that? I guess I can add.
No, the only other change was on the professional services was reduced from 15 to 12.
Right, which is just 3. So there's what, $17,000
Right.
difference somewhere?
Yeah, and that may just be the case, it may just been off by that amount.
So we could just go back and double check.
Amend that, that's correct. But, again, the main intent was, and I'll go back and check that number, was to make sure you had a clear understanding of where the money was moving from in regards to the amendment, what the changes were, but certainly go back and double check these again.
That's it for me. That's probably the whole one.
All right. Councilman Turner. Oh.
There you?
No, you. Okay. G Turner.
Now, I keep going back to the figure of the contract adjustment. That's 700,000, which is roughly a quarter of what is already being paid. And still looking for the details as to what all of that's going for. I heard some of it, And some of it even mentioned some things that be capital. And that's why I keep combining three things here. I keep trying to bring SPLOST into this deal. We haven't really gotten into that discussion as of yet. And something that I suspect could probably be touched on there. Are we going in that direction?
It's an option for the council. Nothing within what was proposed from the vendor includes any funding for SPLOST work. What was presented was an option to be able to, should you want to, that the council, whatever direction the council wants to go in. But again, there's nothing in there that obligates the council to go in any particular direction. There's nothing in there, there's no direct cost associated within that 693 either. You know, again, you take that 693 and you take out the comp plan, you're down to what, 550, maybe that's ballpark.
So let me ask you, Mr. City Manager, and this may clear it up for Councilman and myself. You know, 'cause I want to know also. If, let's hypothetical. Let's say, for instance, we sent out to bid a road construction design for Panola Road.
Yes.
And I mean, we sent out for RFQ because, I mean, this is, you know, it's over a certain amount, so we have to know exactly where we're going. And then we get those bids back.
Yes.
Now we can take those bids, and we can also look at what CH quoted with regards to hourly for that same project. No monies have been committed, you know, either way. And we can use that as a benchmark, because we're not, we didn't agree to pay anything on either way.
Right.
But what Mr. Wright has done is given us what their charge would be up front to do that particular project.
Right.
So, and I won't, like I said, I want clarity on this also. So what Mr. Wright has presented is what their charge, what their value would be for X amount of project, whatever that project is. So we're not adding money for CH for this contract with regards to what he's talking about, what Mr. Wright was talking about.
Right, in regards to any, so to your example, if there was a road project, whatever the road project may be, use Panola Road, and you wanted to bid out, the first phase would likely be the design work. So the city puts out a package to design, an intersection or design the road. 5 firms bid on it, price comes back, decide on, okay, we're gonna go with firm X to do the design work. May or may not, you know, may or may not be having anything to do with CH at that point. They go forward, they do the design. So whatever company X does the design, they move forward, it's time to move into construction. That work gets bid out. Company Z gets the contract for that work to go out there and actually do the construction of the project. So at that point, you know, one of the things you always want to have, you want to have an owner's representative on site to make sure what's being done is being done the right way, provide oversight, in some cases, inspect to make sure the concrete cylinders are being done the right way. So in that case, then you may want to bring someone in from CH, Jacobs, to be able to say, okay, you know, we need you to go out there and provide some oversight on this project. Okay, for this particular individual, his rate is this is what the billing rate would be, and you move forward. But again, as it stands right here, as of, you know, March 19th, there's no obligation. You know, there's no, you know, at that point, you can also hire someone else other than CH to go out and do that inspection work. So you're not obligated in any way, shape, or form.
So what's happening here is you're just telling us up front.
What the rate would be.
Okay.
And the only thing I would add to what Mr. Harris has said, and to your example, Mr. Mayor, is the proposal, or the language in the contract is for construction management only. It wouldn't be design, it wouldn't be construction, it would just literally be for construction management services. And that is kind of a broad array of services. It could include right-of-way acquisition and you know, managing other contracts like a pavement management evaluation, that sort of thing. But it involves the work that it takes to put together a bid package, put it out on the street, make sure you get qualified bidders and proposals. But what we're talking about, providing the city the option to do would be by project or whatever, manage the project on behalf of the city, not design the project, not build the project. That would be by contractors that if we were selected to help manage the project, we would help find those contractors, and the city would award those. You folks would vote to decide who would get those contracts for design. And
Wouldn't that be under SPOS management?
it could be, if you're talking about SPOS projects, you can call it SPOS management. But the contract language is literally just capital projects. So it could be any capital projects that the city has.
So if this section is optional, it's not binding,
Yes.
why would we attach it to a contract, to an amendment to a contract?
To
If
allow,
you're just showing us the price,
to allow the city the option to do it without having to go through other motions.
right, well, I understand that, but if it's an optional service, that means that we can add it at any point, because there's no obligation to
Right.
it. So wouldn't it be cleaner to just leave that out, since you're just showing us what the price is, and it's optional? And if we decided to exercise that, you could come back and you would say, well, we're 2 times the multiplier on labor, so we told you that before, that's what it is now. Even if you came back and said it was 3 times. But I guess I'm not understanding what is the need to tie an optional service that has no monetary value to an amendment of a contract?
I think literally it was to give the city that option. We're looking for ways to help the city, and we're trying to be efficient as we can with your time as well as the work that may need to be done. So if it's in the contract already, and you folks decide you want to go with the project, you say, go, and then we can go. The price is already there, the structure of the contract is already there. Otherwise, then we have to develop that, we have to bring it to the council and present it, and it just takes longer. And that's certainly your option to go that route.
And do we
The idea here is
exercise-
just to save some time.
Do we exercise that same process with the other optional items in letter L of the original contract? We don't have for those specific options, we don't have a number in the original contract that says, this is our rate in case you want to add those services.
Right.
So why do it for this optional service when we didn't have it for the other 5 optional services on the front side? If it makes it quicker, if it's cleaner, why didn't we exercise that same philosophy on the first contract?
Well, because we didn't know what the city might need and didn't have a way to price that.
That's scary.
And can I add this, is it to our advantage or disadvantage that we know that we know your rate? To me, seems like that would give your competition, if there be any, leverage, as a matter of fact, or some sort of like, well, we know what CH2M may charge, so we can either bid lower or higher. To me, in a way, it's sort of like a blessing to have this on the table so that we at least know that A, we have an option, and B, we don't have to go with that option. But we are basically expanding, if you will, the playing field where we do have, at least on one side of the coin, we have a known. And then on the other side of the coin, we have individuals coming in making bids that may or may not be an unknown. But either way, by you guys coming to the table with this twice, 2-time multiple, you're, I don't think would be proper for me to say your competition, but the other bidders would at least have somewhat of an advantage. And at the end of the day, as it sit, being an option, I think my more pressing question is, who has the right to execute the option? Is that council, or is that just management, or how does that work?
Well, that does depend on our finance policy.
And on top of this, which is a good point, Councilwoman, great question, and this would maybe give some folks some comfort, is if it's over $50,000, I gotta come back to you all anyway. So you're gonna know, exactly what it is.
Well, only if it's over, but if it's $49,999.
Yeah, I'm not calling you for that. I'm gonna put my signature on it and we're rolling. but in the scheme of things, with $45 million over 6 years and a 6 months, $3 million a year budget, I think we'll be okay.
And I understand your point, Councilman Clinton, and I do think that it's quite, it's nice that you gave us your number up front, I do. I don't know that I'm comfortable with adding it to an official contract when there's no we didn't do it for the first contract, one, for any other optional service. And two, it's not financially binding, so why put it in a financially binding contract if it's not, if there's no monetary expectation of it within the contract? So if everything else has an expectation of execution, but this doesn't, I'm just not comfortable with adding that portion to it. Especially if we can do it at a later date, right? And it's more so because we did not do that on the first contract, right? So it doesn't, I don't like it.
And you're looking at managing the work and not construction of it, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Does the contract provide for a process for amendments? Because most contracts do, so if it does, then are we following that format? And if we are, then that's in line with the terms of the agreement. I've never seen an agreement that doesn't provide for some type of amendment.
This is the process for amendment is
Right.
council approved.
Right. And in your original contract, it was, if I recall, and I looked at it just yesterday, it was very generic in nature, so it allowed for a lot of flexibility with amendments, modifications, and things of the like. So, I mean, it's not rocket science in how we need to handle this. The contract explains and it outlines the process for amendments, and it doesn't address monetary versus non-monetary. It just addresses the process to go through.
Let me understand. This is for $700,000, take us through December 18. Is there indication that this will repeat in the coming years? Mr. Speaker?
Yes, sir. Assuming you want to continue the services that would be provided.
So this has roughly a $4 million impact on the budget. No?
Well, yeah, I think right as it stands right now.
I mean, not on the budget, but on the contract, I'm sorry.
Over the course of the year is correct, unless there are more positions that are either added or taken away by council. Every year we'll come back, and when we start the budget process again in September, we'll go back through this whole iteration again, identify, do you want to add positions, we're going to take positions away, what is the will of the council at that point. And then, ideally, the difference in the process would be, we would have made those determinations far earlier in the process, gotten with a third-party vendor to say, hey, this is what's being proposed for next year. What is that number? We'll have that number well in advance of the budget adoption. But because of the time constraints this year, that just didn't take place.
Okay, Mr. Wright, the contract provides for an evaluation every August? Every August?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've got one more question, and it's on a slightly different subject. You mentioned when I asked you kind of what the 693 was comprised of, you mentioned 4 vehicles. Just out of curiosity, and this is probably more for Michael than Mr. Ewing, why are we not buying those 4 vehicles directly out of our general fund? Why are we buying them through the contract versus buying them ourselves?
We just bought them as, I think, when the original contract came up, that's how it was dispensed. That's certainly an option, I would imagine, if the city wanted to. I mean, the challenge is we don't have any.
I mean, typically, there's a markup when it's through a contract, but it can be cheaper if you don't do it through the contract, through the contractor, rather. So, I mean, are we just buying the vehicles from CH because that's what we did before? Or was there some kind of discount through the contractor?
Well, the vehicles belong to the company. We purchase them and provide them for the staff to use under the contract that you guys have provided.
So the vehicles belong to CH, not Stonecrest? Okay, well, even more quick. So now I really want to know, why are we not buying them out of our city funds so they become city assets versus CH assets? If we have the money to do so.
Yeah, that'd be an option. That's a decision that the council can make.
That's another reason why I'd like to see the 693 breakout. But I was just curious about that. I didn't realize, first of all, that we didn't own the asset. So as we begin to be able to afford to own our own assets, I think we should certainly take advantage of being able to do that, for sure.
Okay, let's see if we can wind it in a little bit. One is that, you can say, Mr. Wright. One is that for vehicle purposes, as if we have the cash flow to do that, so I guess we would have to depend on what we have have on hand at that time to actually want to, purchase vehicles.
It may be 2 and 2.
Yeah, gotcha, no worries. So I can appreciate that. Then this will go for Madam City Attorney and Mr. City Manager. If we took out construction management, could we still pass the resolution today and for the budget?
Yeah, the removal of that line item has no impact on the bottom line.
Okay. All right, Council, any more questions? Mr. Turner? Excuse me, Councilman George Turner.
No more questions here, but I'm just still concerned that since we don't have a total connection on this, that we need more time to go through this. And I'm saying, even if it's only 7 days, and we can come back and resolve it. Because some of the questions that I'm having now, I did not have before. I'm becoming more and more concerned.
All right, so what we have done was to, and keep me in line, Madam Clerk and Madam City Attorney, we tabled the motion with regards to what we made before. And as we're looking at, well, before I do that, were there any other budget questions, since we're going for the 2-for-1 now? Any more budget questions?
I don't have any budget questions, but before we adopt the budget, I want to make sure those numbers are right, though. So I don't know if we still need to adopt the budget until the numbers have been cleaned up. I don't want to adopt the budget as it is now when there could be some discrepancies in the numbers. We don't want to do that.
As noted, or however you want to proceed.
Okay. Then having said that portion of it, then we're going to go back to the resolution side, which where we were earlier, where we had an actual motion to table.
So it needs to come off the table.
All right. Then I'll go back to my original question, and then I'll take the motion to take it off the table. With regards now to the resolution, taking the construction management piece or language out with regards to the resolution now. All right. Is that an item we can still vote on? All right.
I'm good with this.
Okay.
Well, I have the motion.
Yes, sir. You have the motion. His motion was to defer, so we would actually have to have 2 motions. One, go back to your original motion, and then if your motion pass or fail, then that's when we move on to the next motion, or not.
Unless you offer a substitute motion prior to.
Correct. So, having been a standing member of council, I want to offer a substitute motion to pass the resolution for the approval of professional services minus the construction management. So that would be my substitute motion. And I would need a second for that to move forward.
Do we need to specify what section that is?
You will do that during discussion? Mm-hmm.
So, for the sake of discussion, second and I second.
All right. Now, properly, Councilwoman Caldwell.
Oh, I just want to know if in the language, when the motion is made to strike, do we need to say number 6, new section N added to, that's what I'm asking.
Oh, I see.
And the resolution section is section 3. So the substitute resolution will actually strike section 3 because we're removing the construction management services.
Okay, I got a question.
Yes.
Were you tabling your motion to defer?
Right.
Okay.
And it's been untabled.
Okay. You took it off the table? Did they need a motion to take it off the table? Because nobody
Nobody made a motion.
Off the table.
Okay, let's,
So I need a motion for it to be taken off the table first, and once it comes off the table, then you can make your substitute motion.
All right,
Okay, then I make a motion to remove the deferment off the table.
Thank you.
properly moved.
Second.
Second, properly moved and second.
I thought he had to make a motion to remove his
That's okay.
table, wouldn't he have to?
no,
Not
any
necessarily.
Anybody?
member of council.
There you go. All right, do you need an actual vote on that?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
You've heard the motion and properly second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, now we move to the substitute motion, which is to approve the resolution, the amendment of professional services agreement for municipal services minus section 3. Been properly moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Now we're back at discussion.
Okay, one more question, and I promise you it's not.
I'm so good. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. Yes, ma'am.
I think to the point was made just a little bit earlier that even if we do, and this, I'm trying to help Councilman Turner feel a little bit better, or George Turner. You need like signs on your shirt. With being able to, there's still some things that, he kind of mentioned that he still had some more questions. But even if we do go ahead and pass the motion, pass the resolution with that said change, we still can come back and make amendments to the amendment. So even if we pass it, we go back through and we find some other things and answer your questions, we still can come back and amend the contract, because we have that. I think that's what Councilwoman Adama was saying, we have that ability to do that. So if we take the most provocative part out today and pass it, and then we find some other things, we can come back and talk about them and make adjustments if we need to.
I agree with you, but once it's in, it's hard to
And do
move
it fast.
it. Yeah, but okay. I hear you.
All right. We have a motion on the table that's been properly moved in second. Is there further discussion? All right. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for question and vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Hey.
All right. So the resolution for approval amendment number 1 for professional services has passed. Number 4, resolution to establish administrative court fees for Stonecrest Municipal Court.
Mayor, do you want to go back, we gonna jump back to the budget? Or, I don't think that's been resolved at this point.
I see. Then I'll have to ask the bean counters where they would like for me to take this.
I can just make a motion to defer the budget until the changes are made and is represented.
So motions, I have a second.
I second it.
All right, so moved and properly second, quickly. They have done. All right, discussion. Okay, all in favor for deferral? Aye. All opposed? Okay, so are we deferred the resolution?
It's done now, but the deferral should not be.
I was asking if you, no, didn't have to. I was
Doesn't have
asking
to.
if you had specific time.
So that was for the resolution to establish the administrative court fees,
No, this is for the
or
budget.
for the budget period.
Right, I think
Okay.
we jumped a little bit.
So, but that is attached to it, so,
Oh,
which is number 4, which is resolution to establish administrative court fees.
yeah, that is another, that's a separate item, separate aside from the budget.
All right.
And I promise you, it's a far simpler item. This
Would you
is,
like to cover that now, Mr. Manager?
yes, sir, if that's your desire.
Yes, sir.
This is simply to, with our municipal court now being up and running, want to establish court fees, administrative court fees, as the judge deems necessary based on a per case basis. Done some research with other jurisdictions. You see some of the information provided to you, and we're simply asking for the council. It has to be established by the governing body, not by the municipal court. That's why we're coming before the council this evening to ask for authorization to move forward with having the option to be able to impose administrative fees as we begin to move forward. So it's fairly standard practice. As you see, I think we're in range, actually on the bottom side of the range, principally because of the simplicity that we're doing with environmental court for right now. As we get into more robust cases with traffic and the like, then, you know, we may need to up that, but I think this is certainly appropriate for what we're dealing with right now.
All right.
Any additional, I'm sorry, any additional fees would have to come to us for approval.
Yeah, we want to make any amendments to this administrative fee. Now, there are some mandated fees that are associated with court costs, brain trauma fund, there's a couple of state funds that we have to pay into that's required, and that doesn't have to come, that's mandated by the state.
I understand, thank you.
So,
Council, any more questions? All right, if not, I'll take a resolution a motion to the resolution to establish administrative costs. Yes, sir.
I move that we approve resolution to establish administrative court fees for the Stonecrest Municipal Court.
I second it.
So moved and properly second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
thank you.
Resolution passed. Thank you, sir. We'll move to number 6.
Mayor and council, this is an ordinance to amend the pouring hours in the city of Stonecrest to incorporate changes made in DeKalb County. This ordinance has already come before you for first read on March 7th, and it's before you now for second read consideration.
Question, I got a couple questions. I can start, if you don't mind.
Councilwoman?
And this, so,
Mike, please. Mike, please.
sorry, I'm not sure if I should be directing this question to community development or economic development. We'll see in a second. But, to change the Thursday and Friday hours, from a 3:55 a.m. time period back to 2:30, it's about an hour and 25-minute difference. Have we had any conversation, and again, I have no idea who I'm addressing this to, but have we had any conversation with the local business owners about how that would impact their top or their bottom dollar to back that up an hour and a half almost?
I am not aware of any conversations that have occurred, but I'm happy to
Mr.
defer.
Harris, or is Serena?
Well, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, nor am I. I know we've had some conversations, and there's a PD was here, I believe, at the work session, kind of giving their input on it as well. So I know they weighed in on their thoughts about it. So
To specifically answer your question, Councilwoman, the folks that I have spoken with, it doesn't have a major impact on them.
It does not?
Does not. Because for goodness gracious, good graces for Stonecrest, we're older and we don't stay out that late. So, yeah, I found all that out during the water thing that was happening last week. So, no adverse effect at all.
I have a question.
Sir.
Was it advertised such that all of the establishments have a legal opportunity to be aware of it? Was not advertised? Anybody speak to that?
No, Councilman Turner, as far as I'm aware, it was not advertised, but to the extent that it's already appeared on the March 7th agenda, it was advertised.
But is that
I don't know
considered
that
legal
there's-
notice to commercial operations that will be impacted by it?
yeah, I don't believe we have
I don't
a,
believe we have an obligation to
Right.
give that kind of notice. There was no requirement for a public hearing. This is simply an amendment of your ordinance so that it's consistent with the county's ordinance, so that the time periods are consistent with the county's.
And the only reason we're doing it is to be consistent with the county.
That's correct.
right. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So if it's consistent with the county, then the businesses already know. Most of them that's been around a while know. aren't
They should.
And does that include the, I think, just something passed in the House and Senate the other day, that for selling alcohol now moves to 11 a.m. instead of 12 p.m. But that would be something that's separate altogether,
Yes, it would.
The brunch.
Sundays. Right.
So what are our Sunday hours, say 12:30 to 2 a.m.? So the new deal you're saying would be 11?
For morning.
12:30?
That's right, that'll come from the state representatives. Yep.
So I guess we'll have to come back and make that adjustment should it pass.
Right, and as a matter of fact, Councilwoman, you make a good point, so let's do this. I'm going to move that we delay this ordinance for Stonecrest, because I want to do both of those at the same time, make sure we're doing the right thing. So
I would appreciate if we had some conversation with some business owners, and just make sure that they're aware that the county has changed theirs and we're considering changing ours. Not saying that we should make some official public hearing, which wouldn't be a bad idea, but, I mean, I know we don't have a legal obligation to do that, but I think we should make an effort to reach out and at least get a good populace and say, hey, look, this is what's on the table. Here's what we're considering, let us know how you feel, even if they throw cans.
exactly.
Or maybe
Okay, well, I will accept a delayed motion on this ordinance.
I second that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Correct.
Oh, sorry.
I was accepting one.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to defer this item indefinitely.
Indefinitely?
Didn't you just?
How about next meeting? But your motion, I can't get that, your motion.
Well, next meeting is 30 days, so until the next regular meeting in the month of April.
All right, probably move that in second.
I
All right.
second it.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we'll delay that for 30 days. Number 7, ordinance of the city of Stonecrest regarding SLUP 17-003.
Okay, this ordinance was advertised, there were public hearings held in front of the planning commission and before the council and the mayor on February 19th. There was a special land use permit that was requested to operate a personal care home for 4 to 6 persons on Panola Road. I apologize, it's late. At 4185 Panola Road. And they failed to make satisfactory provisions or arrangements regarding all factors in section 7.4.6 of Article 7 of Chapter 27 of the Code of Ordinances. And this ordinance is essentially ordaining that the mayor and council are denying that special land use permit.
All right, so do we need to use specific language with regards to that denial for this SLUP? 4185 Panola Road.
No special language beyond what's in section 1 of the ordinance, found at line 19, page 1.
Councilman George Turner, can you see that? For your,
I can see it, but I had concern about it.
okay.
Since we've already denied this item, and this is considered a second resort,
Yes.
and it has no bearing on the fact that it's been denied.
No,
There's another item that I don't see here, which changes the requirement to have this second reading. And it's my understanding that this is done because that had not been passed as of yet. So once that is passed, then this would not be
this
necessary.
will not be necessary. You're correct. I received that from Ms. Macheski Preston, and that's correct. So that's the only reason why we're here for this item as well as the next item.
So this is a routine that we are forced to go through because we haven't passed that yet.
That's correct.
Madam Attorney, then, give me some clarity, please. Whether the ramifications for approval or denial on these two slopes. Are we specifically talking about these as a policy or on these as a location?
As a location.
Okay. All right, so this first ordinance is for the city of Stonecrest regarding slope 17-03, which is 4185 Panola Road.
That's 0004.
It's 04.
Oh, the first one, how about 03?
4185 Panola?
Yep, is that 03? It's 04? Okay.
There's two. 19 identified as slub 17-0004. And the address is given as 4185 Panola Road.
Huh?
My apologies. I skipped 0003.
No worries.
0004.
Okay.
I had that one dog-eared, so.
Okay.
Okay. You need to go back probably
Let's go back.
4 hours.
I apologize. Let's go in order. Let's go in order.
So,
And there's 3 zeros, I'd like to say.
Okay, so
You said double, there's 3.
there's 2 on my page.
There's 3 on the ordinance.
my page too.
Read the ordinance.
003. Yeah, that's 004, 003.
Okay,
Okay, well,
let me start over then. All right, for slope 17-333.
on your ordinance, it should be 17-0003.
All right, and what address is that?
That is 8200 Mall Parkway.
It's Popeyes.
For the drive.
Oh, excuse me, for the drive, yeah. I'm very clear on which one that is. Okay, and 0004 is 4185, correct?
Yes.
And as Councilman George Turner mentioned, we're taking this as administrative action, if you will.
that's correct.
Okay? Then with number 7, ordinance of the city of Stonecrest regarding SLUP 17-0003, 8200 Mall Parkway. I move for denial.
Second.
All right, properly moved and second. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Sir?
I see it is written, but do we need to state the reasons why?
I think you approved it next again.
Yeah, I think this is an approval of the ordinance. The denial's already taken place, simply approving the ordinance denying this item.
All right,
I think that's
and I
all
will
it is.
amend my, I'll amend my motion for the ordinance of the city of Stonecrest regarding SLUP 17-0003 for the approval of the denial. Of the approval of the ordinance to denial. That is my last motion. I will be making the rest of them all.
The ordinance for denial of 17-0003.
All right?
Who make the second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? We'll move to number 8, and one of you all will take the floor.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir?
I move for approval of the ordinance of the city of Stonecrest regarding SLUP 17-0004, which denied passage.
Yeah, baby. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Not quite.
Is it correct enough?
Approval of the ordinance.
Yes.
Denial of 4185 Panola Road.
Okay,
17-0004.
excellent. Probably moved, is there a second?
Second.
All right, probably moved and second. Further discussion? Seeing none? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So handled. Thank you.
Okay, who made that second?
Rob Turner.
Rob Turner, all right. Thank you.
Number 9, ordinance adopting Chapter 7 building ordinance.
Mayor and council, this ordinance adopting Chapter 7 of the City of Stonecrest Code of Ordinances concerning building and construction, and it's adopting the International Property Maintenance Code. The first read was had on March 7th, 2018. It's before you now for second read and adoption.
We've had our first and second read on these,
Yes.
on this particular one.
The second read.
All right, I'll take a motion to approve.
I got a question.
And there is a question.
Did we, I don't know, nobody from community development. Did we, I know we had a question about the right-of-way section in this code. We were trying to figure out if we continue to say the cab because we hadn't taken over the road. There was some discussion, there was even a note, I'm trying to find the page, I should have marked it. I didn't bring my hard copy, I apologize, but there was a comment to the side of one of these, wherever the section is for the right of way, and it said, we might need to consider leaving with the cab.
That's on page 37, I think, and it says, I believe that the CAB should be handling this since we currently do not maintain right-of-ways.
So did we strike that then? It doesn't appear to be.
It hasn't been stricken.
So have we resolved that?
No, I think the resolution will come once through the IGA process. Now, we are still doing all we can to get those IGAs expedited as best we can. I met with the attorneys last week, and they are still working with the county to get those finalized. That will detail out and specifically identify who's responsible for what.
Right. So, attorney, you haven't, you didn't have any direction for that? They didn't give you any direction for?
I haven't
what
received
language
any.
was there?
I haven't received any direction, and as Mr. Harris said, once the IGA is completely negotiated and that issue is resolved, we can always come back and amend the language.
And that's attached, Councilwoman, that's attached to ordinance, with Chapter 7.
Yeah, 1237 or something. I don't have heard. I just remember we had some discussion about it, and I see the comments still here, so it didn't give me clarity that we had resolved that, or it was, but if we're, we can leave it that way and then come back and amend it later.
Then
That's an option.
I have a question then. If we enforce the codes under this guideline that is in there, does that negate something, cause us any problem with enforcing the codes? The building codes, that is?
No, because as far as the international building codes that we're going to be adopting,
Right.
no, I have no, because that's a document produced by another entity, and we're adopting their rules and regulations. We're doing this case, so no, it wouldn't have any bearing on our ability to be able to enforce those rules, those laws.
My question is regarding existing structures, since we are adopting this code. On line 1787, this is where it's talking about existing businesses have to bring into full compliance with the applicable codes that are relevant to the cited violations, cannot be made at a reasonable cost in relation to the present value of the dwelling or the building structure, requiring the owner within the time specified in the order to demolish and remove such dwelling. Can you address that and tell me exactly what does that mean for an existing business in Stonecrest who may not be meeting these new codes or whatever we're adopting? What does that mean for them? Because as a small business owner, and I think that someone spoke, the gentleman, the pastor spoke about this, if you are an existing business and now you have to pay all this money, and I agree, safety is our first priority, But how do we protect these small businesses here in Stonecrest and yet keep the building safe and keep the people safe and keep Stonecrest safe without it costing them more? It's more for him to get the sprinkler system than it is for him to, build a whole new building. So I want to have a deeper conversation about that, because I'm of the opinion he's probably not the only institution or business who may have those particular issues. And we don't want to run any businesses away. We got enough of them leaving. So I think we need to have a deeper conversation and not take this lightly, because we had a public comment and the pastor did call to voice his concerns to me, and I don't know what district he's in, but he had a valid concern. And I think we need to talk more about this before we start adopting stuff, talk about how it's going to impact these small businesses. And 90% of the businesses, 98% of the businesses, I did the research in Stonecrest, are considered small to medium. So we don't want to run them away.
I had an opportunity to speak with Reverend Mitchell briefly, and it sounds like his particular issue is, again, it's a code issue as dictated, mandated by the fire department. And again, so that is, they are bound by life safety codes that everyone has to adhere to. What I recommend and what we offer is opportunity for anyone coming in to do improvements or to do a new building, a new structure, or make amendments to their old structure, to do a due diligence meeting, to come in, find out exactly what the codes are going to call for, and they can do that at any point in the process prior to them purchasing the property, once they purchased it, so they can get a better understanding of exactly what's going to be required of them to bring it into full code compliance. So we offer that now, we continue to offer that, and let people know that if anyone wants to come in and have those conversations at any stage in the process, we're certainly willing and able. I had a gentleman come in today regarding the house, different situation, but similar circumstances, and he was trying to find out exactly what was going to be needed for him to move forward with the building permit. So we're able to detail out and line out, exactly what's going to be required. So I think that's a bigger part of the process of being able to have those conversations up front. But when it comes to matters of life safety, we cannot overrule the fire department for life safety matters to go back through it, and we never would.
Yeah, I'm not asking for that.
No, I understand, but I just want to make sure that that's the driving factor for making determinations on.
His comment was that, and I heard him loud and clear, his comment was that it was going to cost him $60,000, and he's having the architectural designs redrawn to include $60,000 for a sprinkler system, and that building's been there, I guess, forever or whatever. Right. So what he's saying is that we're not talking about this. We in agreement with the safety issue. He said, "How can you help me?" And I'm hearing him. So what I'm saying is, how can we help him and we're not going to sacrifice safety and overstep the fire code and the fire marshals. But how do we help a small faith-based organization or business like him, who all of a sudden now is subjected to these new codes that we are adopting? And I think that conversation need to be had regardless of what happens on this council today. We need to talk about who is this going to impact. We're voting on things and we may not know the ramifications and the impact to the businesses that have been faithful and loyal to Stonecrest. And I'm not in the business of running any of them away.
Okay, so, having said that, we will have to, in the spirit of what Councilwoman O'Donnell mentioned, I will be more than happy to have a conversation with that gentleman myself. That is not an everyday occurrence, so as he has brought his concerns forward, he can meet with myself and the community development and the city manager, and we'll further dive into that particular situation.
If I could quickly add, when you finish, I'm sorry.
No, I said as far as the ordinance is concerned, actually adopting the Chapter 7 building ordinance, I'll take comments with regards to that, Councilman.
No, I was just supporting it by saying that this was taken from section 7-234 It says the duties of owners, appointment of public officers, procedures for having premises declared unsafe or unhealthy. So this protects the owner of the property as well as the general public, and it's spelled out here exactly how that is to be interpreted.
And if I'm not mistaken, these are codes that the county already has, right? So we're just adopting what already exists. So should those problems had existed before, the code is exactly the same. We're literally just changing from the county to the city. Those codes existed beforehand. So whatever issues were there before the code were already there. There was a problem under the county code, the same problem under the city code.
That's correct, Councilwoman.
And now that we are a city, we have to own it. So Stonecrest owns it now. We're our own city, and whatever didn't surface when we were in the city, now it belongs to us. So we have to address it regardless of how long it's been sitting there, and we have to talk about how are we gonna handle these types of issues when they arise. And I guarantee you, Pastor Mitchell is not the only business out there who is going to be subjective to this.
Let me also add that Nicole Dozier is not here, but one of the biggest things we had to do was to adopt the codes for the city. And what we said we wanted to do was to adopt them as closely as we possibly could with what the DeKalb County currently has. Once we have adopted those codes for the city, then we will go back and customize them to fit the city. But first we had to have something in place. So what we adopted was the codes of DeKalb County with the intention, and we will go back and customize them to fit Stonecrest.
And additionally, I would like to say that these could be separate and probably should be separated issues. Safety codes are there just for that. You know, it's a benefit for both the owners and for the visitors. The last thing you want is to move into a building and you don't have the safety codes in place and somebody get hurt or some damage happen, you have a fire, you can't put the fire out, you open yourselves up to lawsuits. But separately, I do think the city should have hard enough to look at independent issues, as the mayor has said, and see what we can do separately in regards to that. But in the meantime, when you look at just what happened last week at Olive Gardens, you can't come back and say, you know what, we should just go with the 30. A low score of 66 is okay, so we can keep the business. We don't want to do that. So the thing is, we want to follow the rules, and the DeKalb County has laid it out pretty fair for us. And at this point in time, that's all I need to add.
All right. What's the pleasure of the council? Take a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move for approval. I move for approval to adopt the ordinance of Chapter 7 Building Codes.
Second.
I've been moved and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
All right, Ms. City Manager. Thank you, Madam City Attorney.
No comment, sir.
All right. Madam City Attorney, any comments?
No comments, except I'm glad to be here with you all this evening. I think this is my first evening meeting with you.
Excellent. Great to have you. Councilwoman Ldoma.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We have a Women's History Month breakfast on March 31st. It's free at the Hilton in Stonecrest. Also, if there's any veteran who's looking for a job, there's a technology firm who is currently hiring to bring people on in April. All you need is a 4-year degree and be willing to locate somewhere in the Atlanta area. For more information, you can contact me. Also, if there's any senior high school student who needs a scholarship, we're giving away 3 $1,000 scholarships to students in the Stonecrest district.
Councilman George Turner.
Showtime at the Carnegie Hall Performing Arts. The Mighty Lions of Salem Middle School have been selected to perform at Carnegie Hall on March 26th. And they had to raise funds to go. They are almost there. They have 50 students they're taking, and they said right now they can afford to take 45. and I don't need to say what you need to do. But they like to take all 50, and they've had a difficult time raising funds. In addition to that, District 4 will be holding a town hall meeting at Salem Panola Library on March 28th at 6:30 p.m. Please come out.
All right, Councilman Gladden. Councilman Rob Turner.
Just an adjustment on the monthly community breakfast because of the NAACP's breakfast that they're having on the 14th. We're changing our date just for this one time for the month of April to April 7th. And we'll get back with you with more details on that. But we will not have the breakfast on the second Saturday of this month. Next month it'll be the first Saturday. Thank you.
Councilwoman Cole? All right, while I have my council here and staff, I want to pin a date right now for this budget meeting. Because I think that we have to, was it preferred a workshop? And then right after a meeting with regards to council, we can do it all in the same day. What's a good time for you guys?
What day?
Okay. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, sir.
How long will it take you to get the numbers adjusted for the amended budget?
I'll have them tomorrow.
Okay. Having said so, what day this week, council, is good for you all?
Wednesday's good for me.
Wednesday's good.
PM,
All right, afternoon.
PM.
PM.
Afternoon. Guess I need.
Yeah, we have the regular.
So, Labor City. Everybody said evening? Oh, the evening. Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll find out if I have to. If I don't, I'll be there.
No, this whole thing is centered around you, so we need to know from you.
Well, I can't call in the night before. Like the county. So let's stick with Wednesday. I was just saying, I have jury duty at the time. So I won't find out until the night before.
So, she won't find out until the night before for jury duty. So how about let's go back to the original plan, which is twofold. One, see Mr. Harris. See Mr. Harris on any changes. Now, we're down to the bucket now, so this should be pretty quick. And then, if, council with it, Wednesday evening, and then everybody should know the numbers and all, and then even if we have to, put, Councilman on the phone. But by the end, what's good, everybody? 6? So we'll do, Madam Clerk, we'll do a work session, then immediately, right after, we'll do a council meeting. Special call meeting, correct?
Only to adopt the budget.
Correct. And I think the proper term, unless I'm correct, is to adopt the amended budget.
So are we gonna post this tomorrow on the website?
Okay? If there's no need for executive session, sir? Yes, sir?
Oh, are we going to take a session?
No.
I'm sorry.
Here's the no.